Welcome to today's Explainer. We're about to explore a transition that's going to fundamentally rewrite how we live, work, and, well, just move around. I mean, think about it. For a century, our daily lives have been totally dictated by asphalt, traffic lights, and flat, two-dimensional streets. But we're standing right on the verge of this immense logistical leap from those traditional ground routes up into a three-dimensional sky transit system. And look, forget the distant sci-fi movies you've seen. We're talking about a very real, very imminent shift in urban transit that's projected for 2030.
Okay, let's dive into this. 2026. That's literally just around the corner. This isn't some hypothetical, far-off century anymore. We're on the starting line right now. Aerospace and automotive companies are actually deploying their initial commercial air taxi services and modular flying vehicles this year. That whole illusion that this is just a futuristic pipe dream, yeah, it's completely shattering. We're actively moving toward a 2030 reality where the skies start replacing the streets.
So, to make sense of all this, we're going to break it down into 4 quick areas today: the 2030 commute, cities in 3 dimensions, street versus sky transit, and finally, the new disruptions. All right, starting off with Section 1, the 2030 commute, and how we're completely redefining our relationship with distance.
The foundational hardware that's actually making this whole thing possible is the eVTOL. That stands for Electric Vertical Takeoff and Landing Vehicles. These are ultra-quiet electric rotor machines, and they're going to become the dominant fixture in our skies. They basically lift off and touch down a lot like a helicopter does, but with drastically better efficiency and absolutely zero direct emissions. It's a real game changer. Just imagine this. We're trading that grueling, soul-crushing reality of a 1-hour gridlock commute through a congested city center for a completely smooth, 8-minute point-to-point flight. We're talking about taking a painful hour of your day and shrinking it into ultra-fast, seamless aerial relief. You get to completely bypass all those blaring horns and the awful stop-and-go traffic down below. How amazing does that sound? But okay, let's deflate a pretty popular myth right here. You are probably not going to have a personal flying sports car parked in your driveway. The initial costs are just way too high, making personal ownership incredibly rare for the average person. Instead, what we're looking at is a rideshare model. You'll just summon a vehicle via an app on your phone, and autonomous, pilotless fleets will handle these short urban trips to maximize efficiency and, of course, safety. And what's really brilliant is how this infrastructure just integrates into what we already have. These vehicles will operate from dedicated vertiports. Think of them as high-voltage charging and landing pads built right on top of our existing parking garages, skyscrapers, and transit hubs. Let's move to Section 2 and see how this builds out on a macro level. Cities in 3 dimensions, moving beyond asphalt.
Shifting transit to the sky completely alters how we plan our cities. And we definitely won't be relying on humans sitting in air traffic control towers trying to manage all this. Instead, the low-altitude airspace will become this massive highway system governed by fully automated, AI-driven sky grids. These digital grids are going to flawlessly route hundreds of thousands of silent vehicles simultaneously. It ensures safe distances and optimal speeds, totally eliminating human error.
And here's where the economic ripple effect gets incredibly fascinating. Think about it. If you can fly 50 miles in just 15 minutes, the premium on living packed right next to downtown suddenly drops, right? This insane speed could totally flip property values. Rural and suburban areas become highly attractive because distance is literally no longer a barrier to the city center. It could actually cool down those hyper-expensive city real estate markets since people can spread out over a much, much larger, highly accessible radius.
Now let's check out Section 3, Street versus Sky Transit, the reality check. Now what's really interesting here is the sheer scale of the paradigm shift. We're moving from fixed 2D roads straight to automated 3D sky grids. Think about speed. Urban traffic usually crawls between 25 and 45 miles per hour, while eVTOLs will glide through unobstructed air paths at 130 to 150 miles per hour. That is a massive jump. For infrastructure, we're trading bridges and asphalt for vertiports and high-power charging grids. And importantly, for the environment, we get to swap out high localized noise and tailpipe exhaust for ultra-quiet electric rotors and zero direct emissions. It is quite literally an upgrade across the board.
But of course, it's not all perfectly smooth flying. Let's look at Section 4, the new disruptions, or complications on the fly.
First up is what we're calling the privacy paradox. I want you to imagine sitting in your 15th floor apartment, just enjoying your morning coffee, only to have a commuter air taxi or some delivery drone buzz right past your living room window. Yikes, right? That completely disrupts our current expectation of high-rise privacy. Because of this, municipalities are going to have to create entirely new zoning laws that strictly dictate residential no-fly zones just to protect people in their own homes.
Then, we have the totally unpredictable element of nature, weather bottlenecks. Traditional ground cars can handle a heavy downpour or thick fog pretty easily. You just slow down. But in the sky, a sudden microburst or a severe windstorm could instantly ground entire urban aerial fleets for safety. And when that happens, you are going to see massive digital traffic jams as thousands of airborne commuters are suddenly forced to scramble back down to the old 2D roads. It could be really chaotic.
Finally, there is the absolute massive logistical challenge of powering the sky. Keeping hundreds of thousands of vehicles airborne isn't just about having good aerodynamics. It requires an incredible amount of energy. This tech is going to rely heavily on advanced solid-state battery architectures. And our cities, well, they're going to require massive, high-voltage, localized upgrades to their power grids just to handle the rapid charging that's required between all these passenger hops.
So the crucial point is summarized perfectly in this quote from our source material. The atmosphere will function as an express layer of mass public and premium transit, turning our current concepts of traffic and distance completely upside down. Like we established earlier, 2030 isn't about everyone getting their own personal flying car to show off to the neighbors. It's about creating a revolutionary, shared mass public transit layer right above our heads.
Which leaves us with the ultimate question. Are we ready for an express layer in the sky? The technology is arriving. The infrastructure is actively being planned, but the societal shift, well, that is entirely up to us. Take a second to think about how this is going to change your daily life. And hey, if you want to see exactly what the vehicles of this new era look like in practice, I highly recommend looking into the breakdown of the 10 flying cars that actually launched to see some of the real-world eVTOL models that are already entering production. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer today, and keep looking up because the future of transit is already in the sky.